Welcome to What the Hype, and this week we're kicking back and turning our brains off with some reality TV, arguably, at least in my opinion, the best way to forget about your problems and think about somebody else's. Eric, Laura, and Micah are here this week. Hello.
Hey.
Hello. Hey. I can't wait to focus on someone else's problems.
Oh, good. Well, surprise. We're actually going to focus on your problems, Laura. You're the reality TV star this week.
Oh, no. This is a nightmare.
Sounds like a good premise for a reality TV show. So Micah and I did a episode with one of our friends, Christine, about Survivor a month or two ago. And we wanted to talk more about reality TV because it's obviously a very popular television genre. Reality TV shows actually date back to the 1940s and 50s with shows like Candid Camera, which actually was originally called Candid Microphone, fun fact, and Queen for a Day. I think we've all heard of both of these shows in the past. They're iconic. And in the case of Candid Camera, it's still around.
I haven't heard of the second one.
Queen for a Day is a show in which an audience votes on which woman on the panel is going to get a sort of like makeover and be treated like a queen for a day. That was basically the premise. And then in 1973, there was what could be considered the first modern reality TV show, and it was called, quite simply, The American Family, which followed the everyday life of a family in Santa Barbara, California. Jumping ahead to today, like I said, we've already done an episode on Survivor, but what reality TV shows are we currently watching and using to clear our brains? Laura, you and I actually have one in common.
Yeah, Love is Blind. Although I will confess, I am not up to speed on the current season, but I did watch this show religiously for the first 3 seasons or so. I got to catch up. But honestly, it is simultaneously so entertaining, but so maddening to watch this show because for the most part, these are all terrible people.
Do you want to give people a little summary, like what can they expect on Love is Blind?
I guess I should do that, huh? So essentially the whole premise of Love is Blind is in the title, Love is Blind. Couples spend a pretty significant amount of time with each other in these pods where they can speak to each other, but they cannot see each other. And they are not allowed to see each other until after a proposal has happened within the pods. So there's an engagement happening on the other side of a wall. And, your new fiance is not revealed to you until after they've said yes.
Whoa.
And as you can imagine, it doesn't go very well after that in a lot of cases.
Is there time? Like, does the series spend time on how awfully it goes? Or is it the kind of thing where you read about in the press?
No. So that's not the end. So what happens
that's
after
just
that
the beginning.
is they go on, so they start spending time together in person. There's like a party with all the couples who got engaged. And then there's the weddings. And then there's the honeymoons. And for some of these couples, things fall apart.
Well, and don't they do, or maybe they switched the order, but at least when I was watching, it used to be they would have the party with the reveals, and then they would send all the couples on an all expenses paid trip to like Mexico or something. Then they came back and had to live together in an apartment for 6 weeks, and then they got married. So
that's right. I'm getting the honeymoon and marriage.
There are definitely hurdles that a lot of people don't make it through.
They basically do the honeymoon first to live together and all that, and they live together in whatever city they're shooting in. But it is insane to me that these people are committing to marriage before they actually see each other. And of course, that's the whole premise: is love truly blind, as the Lachey's who host the show ask. But man, it's very entertaining.
Without making the mistake of like trying to get too detailed on this one show, because I never really heard the premise described like this, but are there those who actually, is there quite a bit of pressure to say yes to marriage, or do people stay in the pod? Are there like people who ever choose not to, like, if they're not jibing with people, do they?
Yeah, you get cut. If you are not an engaged couple, the show no longer follows you after a certain phase.
Yeah, but there are the couples too where like there is a proposal and somebody says no. It's not like
Yeah.
the person being proposed to always says yes.
Okay, this makes sense. Fascinating, honestly.
It is fascinating, and it's pretty good. It's kind of the same thing every season, but it's good junk reality TV.
It is. And of course, you have the couples who make it all the way to the altar, and one person says no. That usually happens a couple times this season.
And the friends and family are there. It's intense.
Oh my God.
But you can also tell so many of the friends and family in the audience are sitting there like, what the fuck is this even right now? Like, you can tell some people are holding back laughter because it's so ridiculous.
Oh, man.
One thing that I really love about reality television, and we're going to see it in this list of shows that we're going to talk about, is that it really does run the gamut. There's something for everybody, and it's nothing is clearer than in the show you just described, Laura.
Yeah, it's nothing like the reality TV I watch.
Yeah, so it's on Netflix. Check it out. And Laura, you actually watch a spinoff. I don't watch this.
So I only watched one season because, believe it or not, the people in the ultimatum were even worse. And they also had another spinoff, and I forget what it was called, but it was still the Lachey's that were doing this. And it was essentially all the people from the other Netflix reality dating shows who didn't get paired off. They bring all of them together and try to help them pair off there.
Yeah.
So it's like you get the worst people from these other dating shows and bring them all together.
You're thinking of Perfect Match.
Fun.
Perfect Match. Thank you. The ultimatum is about couples who one person wants to get married and the other one's dragging their feet. So one person is giving another an ultimatum. It's so trashy.
That season of Survivor where they brought back all the people who were voted off first. And it was a whole season of people who were voted off for the first time.
But was it a shit show or was it entertaining?
And then can you imagine if you're the person who gets voted off first, then you've been voted off twice first?
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be horrible.
Well, you got to have a name. Somebody did that. That happened to somebody, poor person. But Andrew, I know you and I have one in common. RuPaul's Drag Race, which to be honest, I've started watching this year and am now about 13 seasons in. It was my jam for the first 6 months. My buddy Derek and I were sort of speed running it. He'd already seen all of it and knows the queens really well. So I was introduced to a whole different lifestyle that I never paid any mind at all. And I have to say what I appreciate most is how it's not a shit show. If anything, I think RuPaul's Drag Race, and there are moments, don't get me wrong, but Andrew, I think you could attest, it is a monument to the art form of drag. It's endlessly impressive what everyone is tasked with doing on a weekly basis.
Yeah, it's really incredible what they come up with in terms of these looks, and the show is pretty funny too. It can get pretty dramatic for a drag queen reality show. RuPaul is really fun to watch, as are her co-hosts, Michelle Visage, and then there's some rotating panelists as well. Yeah, it's a fun. It usually airs on Fridays, and to me, it's a good Friday night brain off, colorful reality television show.
Yeah. You can be dazzled, you can be impressed. Occasionally, your heartstrings will be tugged at. For me, I think it's really because of the powers of reality TV. It's brought, a lot of respect and a lot of weight to the art of drag. It had sort of very humble origins when RuPaul first started it. The first season's literally in a garage. And to see what it has become, it's now, for being a competition reality show, it is now, and quickly became the funnel for launching the careers of anyone that wanted to do drag seriously and take it to the next level.
Yeah, it's withstood the test of time. It is surprisingly popular, I would say, for a reality TV show that's airing on MTV and VH1. It's not like it's on Netflix or one of these other big streamers. And I'm always surprised to hear a lot of straight people will watch it too, and straight men. I've been surprised the the diverse audience that it has. It does air a lot of seasons, so it can be difficult to keep up with because they've got the regular show and then the All Stars, and then there's all the all the international seasons as well. It's a global empire, and good for them for all of that success. But
yeah, they've totally franchised out. I will say the streaming episodes are all on Paramount Plus, so pretty easy to get a hold of.
And sometimes they're Paramount Plus exclusive, so you need a Paramount Plus subscription, which is kind of annoying.
I already have one because of Star Trek, but yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Micah, what do you watch?
Well, we all know about Survivor because we did, as you said, Andrew, an entire episode on that. And thanks to Google, we know that Francesca Hogi was the first person voted out of Survivor Redemption Island, as well as the first person voted out of Survivor Caramoan. So I just wanted to throw that in there. But anyway, The Mole. And I feel like this is something you would enjoy, Andrew. I'm not sure if you've watched before.
I watched the first season or two with Anderson Cooper.
Yeah, so Anderson Cooper did host, along with Ahmad Rashad at one point, if there are any sports fans out there. But for people who don't know, The Mole is an American reality show, which was originally broadcast in the early 2000s on ABC. It's since been picked up by Netflix in 2022, and they've put out a couple of seasons now. So I'm really excited to see that it's back, and I've watched those seasons as well. Players in The Mole have to work together to compete various physical and mental challenges to build up a significant prize for the winner. One of them, however, is the Mole, a double agent hired by the producers to sabotage the efforts of the group. So the Mole must be careful to avoid drawing too much suspicion to themselves. So part of the fun of watching the show is trying yourself to figure out who is the mole, picking up on clues, not just sabotage, because quite honestly, a lot of the contestants do dumb shit that costs the entire group a lot of money. A lot of times they will, allow money to be taken from the pot in order for them to gain an advantage, and that casts suspicion on them. But one thing that I found really interesting in kind of doing a little bit of research on the show is that there's 50 seasons of The Mole that's been broadcast around the world. And it actually started in the late 90s in Belgium. So we have a tendency to steal reality TV show ideas from across the pond.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if there's demand, I think in the late 90s, early 2000s is when everybody green stamped, reality TV, any concept, anything, they would do.
Well, the first reality shows that I actually remember watching were on MTV with The Real World and Road Rules.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, international countries steal our reality TV show ideas too. Everybody's just stealing from each other when there's a successful idea. Too. Yeah. Yep. Cool. Yeah. I missed that show. Maybe I should get back to it. The new Netflix one.
It's easily, I mean, the great thing is you don't have to wait an entire week for the next episode like you did back in the early 2000s. Though I will say with some of these newer seasons of The Mole, they do some staggered releases. So I don't think you get all the episodes at once, which is smart.
Yeah, that's how they keep you subscribed on Netflix.
The other show I wanted to bring up, and I really have only watched the season with Ivana Lynch, is Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah,
Eric, I know you watched as well. I was heavily
the biggest
invested.
Promoter. Yeah,
she should have won. Her or Milo
that
Manheim.
Was such a there was some controversy because of the person that ended up winning in Ivana's season. I think she made top 3. The person that ended up winning, it was based on I think telephone calls in or text messages or something, and the person who won, the guy had like a radio network. Yeah, basically. And the audience just dwarfed it's basically, how it is trying to get somebody to click on a link these days. It just doesn't happen. And so you get the right amount of people. It just shouldn't have happened. I think if it had been merit or talent, it wouldn't have been that way at all for that season.
His name is Bobby Bones.
I have no I have no gripe with Bobby Bones.
Stars.
other than I found Ivana's performance to be worthy of the win that season.
That's honestly what made me give up on the show, was just
I was like, oh, they're doing it this way?
The judges actually have no say, really, in who advances. And that is annoying to me. Like, I feel like they should have a certain say in who ultimately wins the show. No,
their opinions are their sway, I would say.
Yeah. I get what Micah's saying, though, because the judges on this show are either professional ballroom dancers themselves or people who have professionally judged ballroom dancing before.
There you go.
So the fact that they just get to state their opinion and there's like no weight based on that, and it's 100% audience score, I think can be kind of disappointing. I was very invested in Dancing with the Stars for the season that Bindi Irwin was on. She was partnered with Derek Huff. And I was mainly just invested because she's so wholesome. I wanted her to win, but it also ended up being that she was actually a really good dancer. So she deserved to win. And I mean, it's been like 10 years at this point, so I don't think it's a spoiler to say that she won that season. So good for her. But it was such a good season.
Does she have a radio network of people calling in?
No, but I hear her dad's pretty famous. So
she has a whole country calling in for her.
Yeah, there you go. They're dialing 001 before the number.
Figured it was probably worth giving a shout out to American Idol as well. That was a huge, it still is, but probably not as popular today as it once was. I just remember watching it early on.
Yeah, same. To me, this is the original reality television show in my life. It was, like you're saying, Micah, huge those first couple seasons, and they really did create stars. Whereas these days with Idol, The Voice, there's no stars coming out of these shows anymore. So it's like, and that used to obviously be a huge draw for contestants. And now, of course, you win a cash prize, but you also want to be a recording star. And these people aren't anymore. But yeah, American Idol, really, really big. And it now lives on ABC, though it originated and ran for a while on Fox. And then it ended for like 2 minutes, and then it came back to ABC with Ryan Seacrest still. It was kind of bizarre.
Well, did anyone else growing up ever watch Antiques Roadshow with their grandparents?
Yes, or my parents.
Okay, fair. My parents were, more my mom was more into it too, but essentially Antiques Roadshow really got its start in the UK. It is, on BBC. And it was initially based on like a 1970s documentary about Antiques Roadshows. Of course, here in the States, we stole the idea and we launched Antiques Roadshow, the US edition, and it's been running since 1997. It has been around for a very long time, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's people bringing their antiques to be appraised. And what I think is so funny about shows like this and the other show I'm going to talk about here in a moment is the amount of people who think that they have like Thomas Jefferson's like original signature on oh god like I don't know, people who will think they have like Ringo's signature on their drumsticks or something like that. And so often it ends up being complete BS.
Sometimes they do.
Sometimes they do. It's rare though.
Yeah, it is cool when all of a sudden they discover that they're actually a millionaire because of this thing that they have.
Yeah.
And I want to play a clip from the show now because there's been this moment, I guess from a recent episode, that's been trending online. This one's really funny.
What do you think this is?
I think that it's a slave bracelet. I would like to think that my relatives helped to free the slaves, and that was one of the ones that they freed, or maybe they found. I think that this is the name of the slave holder and then the name of the slave underneath it. Am I right?
It's a dog collar.
Okay.
No. Okay, first of all, the audacity to be like, this is what I think it is, but also my family definitely freed their slaves.
Right. What?
Like that is quite a thing to say. My
Now,
God.
I did not see, but the very floral cursive name, was it like a 3-part name, like a first, middle, and last? Because that's a lot to put on your dog collar for owner info. Just
it was
put
back
owner.
in the day. It was
Yeah.
3 names. Yeah.
Yeah.
William, Liam, Vicksburg, and then below Wallace, which I guess
Wallace.
was the dog's nickname.
I don't
But yeah,
know.
there's-
I would make the animal's name more prominent on a dog collar. Maybe that's why this fell into antiquity. I don't know.
Laura, you have another antique style show.
So this is basically like, I guess, the Antiques Roadshow if the Antiques Roadshow were super trashy. Pawn Stars.
I was going to say, I was wondering how you were going to say that. With no class whatsoever, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a family-run pawn shop operation, actually out of Las Vegas.
Yeah, I haven't been because those guys who actually appear, they're never actually there.
No,
so
of course not.
there tends to be a line to get in, so it just doesn't seem worth it to me. But it should be a bucket list item.
It's not. I mean, it's just funny. I don't even know any of these guys' names, but the main dude,
Rick.
Yeah, Rick. Thank
He's
you.
got a barbecue place here too.
What's his dad's name?
Old Man. They
Oh,
literally call him
that's
that.
right. Old
Yeah,
man.
He died. R.I.P.
Oh no. Well, that's
Oh, no.
very sad. Wow. Way to bring it down. But yeah, it just seems like Rick always has a guy for everything. Like somebody shows up and they're like, here's this like basket that was woven underwater in the medieval ages by someone who had the Black Plague. Like something totally like oddly specific and random. And he's like, yeah, I got an underwater basket weaver expert that I can get over here to appraise this. I'm like, what the?
And then he does. And
That's
then they come and they talk about it.
Producers.
What if reality TV could also be educational? That's what I love about these shows. Like the people are trashy and there's no class and there's a lot of like mistakes made or whatever. It's people. They're people. Like let them live. But for me, I feel like I learned something in the 2-minute segment where that person actually comes and is like, no, Thomas Jefferson's roll top desk would actually have been crafted out of this wood.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was a real one that I saw.
Pawn Stars airs on History Channel, so
yes,
it is purposely informational.
Although so does Ancient Aliens. And,
and Antiques Roadshow airs on PBS, which is also a channel which strives to be educational.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another one here, and this is quick. I think everybody has a touch point here. Big Brother. I was definitely into this my first couple of years of college. Like we would tune in for every episode. And I mean, we all know the premise, right? It's throw a bunch of strangers together in a house, put video cameras up everywhere so there's no privacy.
Just like the real world.
What could
go wrong?
Really
into it. It's it airs a lot of episodes per season. I mean, that's like it's a summer show and a winter show, and it's airing for a few months every season.
And it's had the same host for ever.
I'm Julie Chen Moonves. Be kind to one another. I think that's her closing line. All right. Well, we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the older reality TV shows that no longer air, but that we used to watch. So when I was a kid, and this is another early reality TV show for me, we mentioned MTV once or twice. I used to watch The Osbournes. That was a good one. Sharon! Ozzy was just a mess. The kids were entertaining to watch. I loved watching them in their mansion. I was just fascinated by that as a kid. Like, wow, what a big house.
See how the other half lives. Yeah.
Yeah.
Think about how that must have made our parents feel. To
the
see
fancy homes.
Yeah, I mean, just to see someone like Ozzy Osbourne with a reality TV show like this.
Yeah.
Like, it was probably a little jarring. I think it's a lot more common to see stuff like this now than maybe it was then.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to think that our parents would look at something like that at that point and think, God, I'm old.
I used to watch Cops too.
Oh, yeah.
Bad
we used to
Boys,
watch
Bad
Cops.
Boys. What you gonna do? What
Yep.
you gonna do when they come for you? And then I think my all-time favorite reality television show, TLC's John and Kate plus 8.
You know what? John was just engaged to a girl that lived across the street from me when I grew up.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Whenever
Yeah,
I
they-
mention Reading, Pennsylvania, people always say John and Kate, John and Kate, John and Kate.
Yeah. It was fascinating to watch them manage these 8 kids. They filmed, I was looking while preparing for this show, they filmed like 100 episodes with those 8 kids. It all fell apart spectacularly because Kate and John ended up divorcing, and then they tried to do Kate plus 8, but then John started suing because of that. It was a mess. But I was so obsessed with this show that one year I dressed up as Kate Gosselin. I had her iconic haircut. I had a suit jacket. I had.
Can we see photos?
Oh yeah, there's somewhere. I'll send them to Chloe for social media. But yeah, I loved that show. That was entertaining to me. Now that type of thing grosses me out, especially with the rise of like social media influencers and seeing how parents will put their kids in front of the camera.
Yeah.
But yeah, for a time I was into it. What did you used to watch, Eric?
I really loved this reality show that only aired for 2 seasons on Bravo. It was called Work of Art, The Next Great Artist. And it was a competition reality TV show. It was about a dozen or so artists, and they would compete in challenges. And essentially the winner would receive a gallery show at a prominent place in New York for it. And what was amazing is you take these supposedly, artistically talented, art school graduates and people who are, up and coming, and ask them to do art on demand, which isn't really how it works. But the people were creative enough that they would come up with interesting art that you can look at and appreciate every single week, essentially. And it was just a sort of a fascinating time capsule. The judges were eccentric and lovely. And it really is a good show. You'd be hard pressed to find it. I ended up pirating it to watch indefinitely, but it was really a good show.
That sounds really cool.
I'm entitled to watch that show forever.
Sure.
It only lasted...
talking about an art show and then pirating art, kind of.
Oh, not as badly as AI does.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
That's cool. How about you, Micah? What do you miss?
So there was a show back in the early 2000s called Murder in Small Town X. I'm not sure if anybody else has heard of it. Laura, I feel like this would be right up your alley.
I know. I can't believe I've never heard of this before.
It aired on Fox, and I believe the episodes are available on YouTube now. Shh, don't tell anybody. But when I was planning for the show, I happened to come across them. So I'll send you the link, Laura.
Cool.
Check out. But basically the premise is contestants in this fictional town of Sunrise, Maine, and they're all being challenged to solve a murder. Each week, one of the contestants is quote unquote murdered and removed from the show. And the final contestant that solves the case wins $250,000. It's basically, similar to other reality TV shows, you're bringing together contestants from around the US. In this case, they're acting as amateur investigators to solve the crime. And what was notable about this, and it actually was an eerie kind of conclusion to the show, and I don't know if that's the reason why it was never rebooted, was that its only winner was a New York City fireman, and he actually died in the September 11th attacks exactly 1 week after the show's finale aired.
That is eerie.
That's horrific.
Tragic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. This does sound like such an interesting premise. I'll be interested to actually look back at those episodes because I feel like I would kill in a show like this. No pun intended.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I think you would too.
I forget the exact dynamic of the show, like how they go about, the actual solving of the crime. There were envelopes involved, and, I think people were split up into different groups. And at the end, like one envelope would take you to like the killer, and one envelope would take you to like a clue that would advance you to the following week. So, but it was fun. Like it was something totally different and unique that I'm surprised it hasn't been tried again.
The next time we're all physically together, we all need to do an escape room.
Oh my God, I would
That's fun.
love that. I love escape rooms.
Yeah. I'm counting on you to save us.
Yeah, I can't be bothered doing all that work.
But they were a lot of fun.
It's
They're
fun.
great. I feel like we have good communication. There's so much that can go wrong, just like on reality TV. There's so much that can go wrong, but good communication, trust in each other is got to be like up there for what gets people through.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if we ordered these in the best way. Micah shares this anecdote about 9/11, and now Laura's going to talk about.
Oh, yeah, that's awkward. Well, I mean, you know what, YOLO. So who remembers the show Airline?
Never
I
heard
do
of it.
not.
Nope.
You don't? Okay, so Andrew, I'm shocked. Actually, I feel like you would love this show. This aired on A&E, starting in 2004, and it aired for 3 seasons. And it's a reality TV series that follows the day-to-day happenings of the passengers, ground workers, and onboard staff members of Southwest Airlines. And they particularly tended to do a lot of their shooting at Chicago Midway, if I recall correctly.
That's
So
cool.
it was basically just giving you an inside look into what it looked like to work for Southwest, whether you were, you know, a pilot, a flight attendant, someone working at the gate, someone working in baggage handling. Like, you got to see all of it, but you also got to see a lot of passenger perspectives. So there were a lot of really touching reunions that got caught on the show, and a lot of near misses where you would have someone who was going to miss this flight that was going to reunite them with their long lost love or something like that.
Aww.
And you would always breathe like a sigh of relief when people got on their plane. Of course, there were also messy stories that got shown. Like,
Yeah.
I'll never forget, there was this one episode where I think these 2 people had been like camp counselors for the summer, and they were flying home. But it was clear they had a little bit of a camp counselor summer romance spark between them, and they were going their separate ways to go home. And the woman in the pair was very upset and crying to the point where I think it got the attention of the camera crew. And they pulled a lot of strings to reunite her with this guy before they got on their planes, so that I guess they could say goodbye one more time. And it was very clear the guy involved was like, oh, okay. Like, it was very clear that he viewed this as a summer romance that had probably come to its end, but she didn't. So they would capture things like that left you feeling a little bit like awkward.
It does sound like a show that would be up my alley. And
yeah,
Micah mentioned YouTube. A lot of episodes are on YouTube through A&E. So like they officially released them on YouTube. So you can watch them and not feel like you're watching any pirated content. But Southwest has been struggling. So it sounds like they should bring the show back as a way to drum up business.
Do you think that would help? Because I think people are having such
in the first place.
People are having such terrible experiences flying in general right now. I don't know
That's
if
true.
I want to put that on TV.
Every episode would be a horror story. Laura, I think you got another A&E pick here.
I do, yeah. So I had totally forgotten about this one until I started digging around for examples of old reality TV shows. Family Plots. I don't know if anyone remembers this. It was a series that followed a family and their funeral homes. So they basically had their own mortuary practice, and it was a family business, which isn't that uncommon.
No.
Like, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but if you like pass a lot of funeral homes, it's a lot of like Thompson and Sons, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
But it was basically following all of their family dynamics with their staff. But it was also really interesting because you got an inside look at what it was like to do the work of being a funeral director or a mortician, right?
See,
and I mean, that's up my alley.
I find all of
So.
the I find all of these to be really interesting because, again, it's a curtain pulled back and it's an insight and window into how different people are or live. Like,
Yeah.
reality TV as the promise of reality TV is to get that kind of mirror reflection and see more of the world.
But an important thing to keep in mind is a lot of this is faked or forced. There's the term
Yeah.
producer push, when the producers are trying to push people a certain
And
way to
that's-
make
yeah.
them do certain things.
Lost in the edit, the edits
Yeah,
can be
they
harsh and
give them a villain edit, as it is called.
Yeah.
And that happens on a show like Love is Blind, where the producers decide to cast one person as the villain of the season because you need somebody to hate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do it on Survivor, and maybe not as much from a villain perspective, but certain people are shot in certain ways so that it communicates a certain personality to the audience, and that may not be at all who that person is. You may just have gotten them on a couple of bad days.
And they'll edit it a certain way to surprise you when the vote comes in at the end, that type of thing too. Well, we're going to take one more break, and then we're going to discuss the elements of reality TV that we love overall. So we'll be right back. So looking at elements of reality TV that have kept us hyped over the years. First of all, I think we love the mess, right? We were talking at the top about avoiding our own problems. Let's watch other people have their problems and suffer. And like, oh, they suck. They're a joke. I'm better than them.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to see a dumpster fire and run straight up to it and stick my head in the fire. If it's that obviously bad, I can't tolerate it. But give me a little bit of just a tasting of mess. And I'll be there going, oh, you got to get it together.
Yeah. I think another reason I like reality TV is with some shows, you don't have to pay too close attention. I think a show like Survivor does demand your attention to keep an eye out for certain flags. But then there's reality TV shows like Pawn Stars or even like American Idol, or even for me personally, Drag Race. I don't have to be too focused on the minute by minute of the show. And that could be good to have, whether maybe you're doing chores around the house or maybe you're getting some work done and you just want something on in the background.
This is actually how I started watching Love is Blind, because season 1 came out right at the start of COVID. And right at the start of COVID, we also just had our house get flooded out. So it was just a really stressful time. And I remember I was just sitting there waiting for plumbers to show up to start working on repairing all of this water damage we had. And I was just watching Love is Blind, the first season, trying to distract myself from the fact that there was a pandemic happening. My house was flooded and I couldn't really do anything about any of it until the experts got here to fix it. So it was nice to have that at the time. I remember disassociating hard.
I think for some of these shows, depending on your level of interest, it can create a sense of community as well. Like, I think about Survivor in particular, and most recently having gone out to Rob Has a Podcast, the live show they did here in New York City, and actually being able to watch the show with fellow fans. It's a very unique experience. And I don't think I've been to a live podcast outside of our own live shows that we've done. So it was just very cool. And you get to meet other people who are interested in the same things. And, a lot of times I'll, after Survivor, go on and listen live as they're doing the show. And of course, you have a lot of comments come through on YouTube. So I do think that it is very cool to see that community get created, and that you have people out there just like you who are watching. And so
I love
fun.
that point, Micah. And to Laura's point as well, like what I got out of Drag Race is hope, really, and community, and finding that, with the talent. Just this past weekend, speaking of live shows, I saw Jinx Monsoon and Ben de la Creme, two repeat contestants, do a holiday show in Chicago. It was a live thing. It was really lovely. And I've seen a number of like gone to watch parties this year. There was all sorts of community around that. And it really is just a wonderful kind of feel good sense that the world is a place that we, yes, admittedly have to fight for, but is worth it.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I learned so much about how to do makeup that it's just, I don't know, it gives me hope for the future.
So, would y'all be up for being on a reality TV show at any point? And if so, what would it be?
Is this,
Nah.
I had an idea for one, like an idea for a show that does not exist but should.
Let's say
Does
an
that count?
existing. Well, I guess if you want, sure, if that's going to be your answer.
Okay, I have one that's like, it's really easy to explain. It's a normal person or series of people going around their average lives, wherever they work, whatever they do. They might not even know each other. But at any point, and the camera follows them all day, at any point they can turn around and ask judges and get rated on whatever it is they just did. So they had a funny line with their Starbucks barista or something, turn to judges, and whoever's like following them rates them out of 10. And then eventually it accrues points, and that's it.
Okay, that's interesting, I guess. But what are you
I
being
would love
rated
to do
on?
that.
I guess
I would love to
'Cause
be a
what's the
contestant
scale? How do
on-
you? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would
maybe
love-
you could just rate they could rate your day. They could judge your entire day. I'm just trying to think of how it'd be fair to compete against other people. Like,
Yeah, well,
are
maybe
you all
like
telling
social
a joke?
interactions is a category. Maybe different categories of something is like a thing.
How good or bad you smell throughout the day, like a sliding
Yeah, personal
scale.
hygiene, definitely,
Yeah.
absolutely. But like, I think there's an element of like, if you're the kind of person who goes through life thinking either it's like the Truman Show, or that it's just a charmed life, that it's like, oh, I wish I had a witness, like this just happened to me, or I had this really pleasant interaction with this store clerk, and nobody else was there to see it. It'd be like, oh, this show would do that for other people, of just like show them a really fun time. I don't know.
Yeah. Laura, Micah, would you appear on
Yeah.
something?
No, I'm not
You just
cut
talked
out
about
for it.
Murder in Small Town X. That would be
Okay,
you.
so I would play that as like an interactive in-person game. I don't know that I'd want it to be televised.
Oh,
Might give away too much, you know?
okay. We've learned where Laura's bodies are.
Have you?
Ooh.
I would do the mole.
Okay.
I could see that.
I could see you
I would
vibing
be
with
the
that. That's
mole.
cool. Oh,
I could also
Oh.
see that.
Yeah. But you just ruined it because you revealed you're the mole.
Oh,
so
shoot.
come on, Micah.
Cut that out.
God.
no, you love to troll, Micah. We know that. You love to troll.
Mm-hmm. Or
I would want to.
The Amazing Race is another one. I think would be a
That's a
lot
good
of
one.
fun.
That would be super
Andrew,
cool.
would you go with me?
Yeah, but I hate the challenges when it's like, now you got to eat the spider. I'd be out immediately.
It's not Fear Factor.
No, but there
No,
are
but that's-
those like detours
Yeah.
where you can do that. I would want to be on Catfish, but I would want to be the person who needs help figuring out if I'm being catfished or not. I don't want to be the catfisher. Or maybe I do. I don't know. I don't want anything that's like Survivor where it's physically strenuous. A dating show could be fun. Something interesting about some of these reality shows is that if you make it far through the season, you could easily become an Instagram influencer. You see this happen a lot with people.
It's so, I will go and watch certain people's Instagram accounts to see how much their followers will go up after certain episodes. And it's just mind blowing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was going to say it's kind of like a sickness, but I don't want to use that word.
Well, you're just tracking the trends, you know?
Well, and when you watch these reality TV shows, you start feeling connected to some of the contestants. I mean, like, especially with dating shows, I think.
That's actually a really interesting point that you bring up, because I do feel like another piece of this is that people see themselves in certain contestants on reality shows. And
Yeah.
I know we use Survivor as an example a lot here, but it's something that's actually come up on the show itself, where because it's been around for so long now and it's almost 50 seasons in, that the contestants that are on now will say, yeah, I saw myself in this person back in season 5 or 6 or 7.
Wow.
And I'm here today now because of that. And I think you can probably say that a lot about a lot of reality TV shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, that is our reality TV talk for now. One show that's on my watch list is The Traitors. I don't know if anybody here has heard about it, but it's made
No.
up of a lot of other reality TV stars, sort of like The Ultimatum is.
Yes.
And I've heard, oh, you watch it, Micah?
I haven't watched it, but I've heard good things about it.
It's on Peacock. I've heard very good things too. Hosted by Alan Cumming. Is that his last name?
Oh.
Yeah, Alan Cumming. And yeah, that's high on my to-do list. And I want to mention that just because I know some of our listeners will say, hey, you should watch The Traitors.
Have you seen the show he does with Miriam Margolyes?
No.
It's fucking hilarious. You have to watch it.
It has to be if she's in it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised nobody brought up The Apprentice in.
Oh, I used to actually really be into that show too. I
used to watch it too.
It's like I blocked it out of my mind or something.
Mm-hmm. Used to have the button too.
I did.
Yeah.
You're fired.
Used to push it a lot.
You're fired.
The Apprentice can't sit with us.
No, but it was a big part of reality TV culture for a while.
It was
made by the same people who made Survivor. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is our penultimate episode of the year, and coming up next week in our final episode of the year, we're going to talk about what else we were hyped for during 2024, and we're going to look ahead and see what we're all hyped for in the new year. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Don't forget to follow What the Hype in your favorite podcast app. You can also go to whatthehypepodcast.com for links to everywhere that we are online, including on YouTube. We release full video episodes on YouTube, so be sure to check those out. And I think that's it for this week's episode. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Let us know what your favorite reality shows are and which ones we definitely need to check out. We need more breaks from our reality, so let us know where we should look. And that is the hype around reality TV. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, y'all. Bye.